Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading a CaitVi Listener by me. And before we get into this is an AU, not the episode 7 AU, not the canon AU. I'll explain more at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's get into it. The atmosphere at Silko's dining room was tense as always. The long, elegant table set for dinner was an odd juxtaposition against the gritty industrial walls of his own base. The hum of machinery and the faint scent of shimmer clashed with the silverware and fine china. It was a dinner born of compromise, a family attempt to bridge gaps that seemed insurmountable. You sat between Vi and Kate, doing your best to mediate this energy that was radiating from both women. Vi's smile was strained as she glanced across the table at Silko, and her fists clenched at her sides. Caitlyn, for her part, was trying to remain as polite as possible, despite the looks that Jinx kept throwing her way. Jinx leaned forward, her braids swaying as she smirked. "So, Upper City, how does it feel swimming down here?" she asked Caitlyn with mock sweetness, and Caitlyn's lips tightened, but she remained composed. "I can see the effort you've put into tonight. It's quite lovely," she replied smoothly, gesturing toward the table, and he gave Vi a quick glance, silently begging her to intervene before things escalated. Vi caught the look and cleared her throat loudly. "All right, Powder. Let's not turn this into a game of insults, huh?" Jinx's smirk widened at the nickname, but she didn't push further. Echo, seated beside her, gave you a small apologetic smile. He looked as out of place as you felt, his usual confidence dimmed by the tense atmosphere. And Silko, seated at the head of the table, watched the exchange with detached amusement. Her sharp gaze flicked between all of you, before landing on Vi.
"How uncharacteristically diplomatic of you, Violet,"
he drawled, taking a sip of his wine. Vi glared at him, her jaw tightening. "I'm trying to keep the peace, Silko, for Jinx's sake." "Isn't she sweet? Trying to play nice for once. What's the occasion?" You could feel Vi shifting nervously beside you, and your stomach churned. She told you and Caitlyn earlier that she wanted to make the announcement tonight, despite knowing the chaos that it would likely cause. Caitlyn had tried to dissuade her, but Vi had insisted. And so you saw her take a deep breath and stand, her hands resting on the table.
"Actually, there is an occasion."
Jinx's grin faltered, her brow soaring. "What are you talking about?" Vi glanced down at you and Caitlyn, her eyes softening as she smiled.
"We're engaged, all three of us,"
she said, her voice filled with pride. And the room fell into a heavy silence. You braced yourself as the news sank in. And then, in true Jinx fashion, everything exploded. Jinx shot to her feet, her chair screeching against the floor. "Excuse me?" she shrieked, her voice a mix of disbelief and fury. "You're marrying her? That blue belly?" she shouted, pointing an accusatory finger at Caitlyn. Caitlyn, who had been doing her best to remain calm, stiffened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. You're a prissy Upper City snob, and you think you're good enough for Vi? For them?" She gestured wildly to include you.
"Jinx, that's enough,"
Vi barked, her voice sharp. But Jinx wasn't done. She was nowhere near done. She turned her glare on you, though it softened slightly. "And you're from Zahn. How can you be okay with this? With her?" You opened your mouth to respond, but Echo cut in, his hands raised in a palisating gesture. "Hey, Jinx, chill. It's not that big of a deal." "Not that big of a deal?" My sister's marrying a topside cop, and you think that's fine? Echo winced, his gaze starting to you and then to Vi for help. I didn't mean. Jinx! This isn't up for debate. I love both of them, and they love me, and that's it. Vi's voice boomed, silencing the room, and she stepped around the table to stand between her sister and Caitlyn. And Jinx's lip quivered, her anger giving way to hurt. You're choosing them over me. Again, she said, her voice cracking, and Vi's expression softened as she reached out to her sister. I'm not choosing anyone over you, Powder. I still love you, but I love them too. Jinx pulled back, her hands clenched into fists. Fine. Do what you want, but don't expect me to be happy about it. She stormed out of the room, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. Echo hesitated, before mumbling, I'll go check on her, and following after her. Silco, who had remained silent through the chaos, finally spoke.
How very touching. Family loyalty is such a fickle thing,
He said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Vi shot him a glare. Don't start, Silco. He just shrugs, and Vi just sighs, while Caitlyn, who had been quiet for most of the confrontation, per Vi's previous guidance, finally stood. Vi, let's go. There's no reason for us to stay, she says, and Vi nods, while you get up as well. All right, I'll just talk to Jinx later, she says. Vi wrapped her arms around both of you, leading you out. But even though today was very tense, nothing went the way you wanted it to, and that was well expected. All three of you were relieved to finally put this behind you. Now everybody knows, everybody who matters, and the rest, well, whatever comes next, it surely is easier than this. And as the three of you got out of there, united against the storm that you left behind, you couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. It wouldn't be easy, but there is really not much worse that could happen. And so, that somehow made things better in your head. Thank you guys for listening to my delusional AU, and let me explain what it actually is as I told you in the beginning. So, in this AU, there is not that much logic, but consider the fact that maybe the events deviate wildly starting from the last episode in season 1, and somehow we get here, where things are slightly better. I mean, they definitely have Zon now, and Echo and Silco are somehow not killing each other. Vi also is not killing Silco in this meeting, so maybe something happened. But if you're asking me, the person who made the AU, I have literally no answer. I just thought it would be funny to put them all in a room together and see just what happens. And here it is. Hope you enjoyed.